Welcome to Unveiling Africa, an award-winning TV talk show that showcases the beauty of Africa. I am your host, Christine Daka-McCarry, where we aim to bring you the very best of Africa. We will showcase the powerful people, the beautiful scenery, the interesting culture, the food, the movies, and all that makes it a beautiful, unique continent. We also aim to show our similarities rather than our differences, and also to unveil the hidden treasures of the motherland, Africa. Sit back and enjoy this beautiful show that's titillating, mesmerizing, and oh so interesting. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another installment of Unveiling Africa, one beautiful face at a time. Well, today we have a handsome face in our studio, and we welcome him again for the second time on Unveiling Africa, the award-winning talk show. We are here to celebrate his second book. If you recall, he had written a book called Jack Cudjoe, and it was a very interesting revelation of facts and fiction. In this case today, we have him talking about the Akan people in Ghana. They are a very royal group of people, and he's going to give us an in-depth look at the Akan people. His book has been well received by both scholars and literary enthusiasts. I want to read some of his credits from some of his friends who read the book. One of them happens to be Benjamin Alexander, and he says, centuries of migrations, conflicts, and cultural exchanges come alive in this elaborately researched study of a strong and resilient people. The book is a skillfully guided journey through a world of languages, customs, and the logic behind them, art forms, historical puzzles, political structures, and most importantly, human beings. I'll pass on the touch or set the stage up for Mr. Kofi Ayim, who is a master at using words, and especially in the culture of the Akan people. Welcome again, Mr. Ayim.
Thank you.
Welcome to Unveiling Africa.
Thank you very much.
We welcome you again because you're such a genius at literary rights, literary penmanship, and I just can't imagine how much research you put into this. Tell us, what inspired you to write the Akan of Ghana?
Well, I was inspired. I have all the time been fascinated with culture, not only Akan, but people's culture. But on this particular case, I was inspired by someone who has now become my mentor, a teacher, and you name it, anything concerning culture. Mm-hmm. And he's the person who this book was dedicated to. Mm-hmm. He's called Ochiame Kwesi Akufu. Wow. Ochiame means spokesperson, or is somehow misnomered as a linguist. Okay. But it's actually a spokesperson. I describe him as a walking encyclopedia on Akan culture. I saw him perform, I think in 1992 at Easter Ridge. He was on talking drums. Mm. And the way he played the drums and explained the drum language, right. I just took off from there. Okay. And had to force to become his friend. Yeah. And the rest is, history. The history.
Well, history in the making here. Reading this book is so fascinating. I was so enamored by the simple language, but yet complicated or intricate use of language to describe a culture that's really a force to be reckoned with. Tell us more about the Akan of Ghana. Where did it come from? How did it get to Ghana?
Well, there are maybe two schools of thought, but the majority believe that the Akan came from somewhere from Upper Egypt, through the Sudan into the forest belt, stopping along the way, somewhere part of the first Bono kingdom Empire. In Nigeria.
Oh,
Empire
wow.
in Nigeria, yes.
Wow.
And then eventually, through wars and migration, they settled in the forest belt of present-day Ghana. Some other, another school of thought, which I agree with them, and in fact, according to research, that Akan actually, they were part of the people who migrated up.
Up from where?
Following the Nile.
Okay.
That is actually where, so long as history can go back, where human beings, developed.
Yeah, were first recognized.
Historically.
Yeah, historically.
And they followed the Nile. Interestingly, the Nile is the only major river that empties itself in the northward direction into the Mediterranean.
Sea, yeah.
All the major rivers they flowed
down
southwards.
into Africa, yeah.
Southwards, but the Nile is opposite. And if you know, civilization basically started on the banks of major rivers.
Yes.
So some people believe that Akans were, eventually the people that became Akans were part of the original people, in the western belt, on the edges of Sudan, present-day Sudan. That and then they came back when, through several means migratory patterns, which we've explained. One of them probably being the Exodus.
Okay. Wow.
In the Bible, we did use
a lot of biblical images.
Yes, Old Testament has a lot of historical documents. Yeah.
And that's fascinating, because then you begin to have a real sense of humanity when you think about the Bible, that it's real. It really did happen. All the stories we hear and read in the Bible are actual facts. And when we read about the Akan people, we see similarities, or we see actual, stories that mimic or lend itself to the Bible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and how does that come to be?
If you read the Old Testament, you know the accounts of yesteryear, their culture, no one would need to convince you.
Wow.
From their polygamous relationship to how they would, those days when the king dies, they have to kill people.
Yeah.
And all those things.
Right.
They did them all.
Wow.
So many things. But it's not limited to Akan.
Yeah.
In fact, it's across Africa.
Yes.
But I only knew a little bit about Akan.
Because
that's why
studied it. Yes.
But it was a Hamitic trait. The culture was basically Hamitic trait throughout Africa. Central Africa and all the way from southern to
North Africa.
And beyond, east and west.
Now, the Akan people are what kind of people? I know they were royalty, and they were, what describe who they were.
Well,
and their features as
first,
well.
not all of them are royals, but the Akan, I think it was Silverman, a British scholar, who wrote about one thing that you could describe the Egyptians as typical Egyptian, and he talked about the death, the attention that they gave when someone died. Right. And if in present-day Ghana, among the Akan people, even with all economic hardship, if someone dies, it's unbelievable. The elaborate process that they go through. And you read ancient Egypt history and records,
and they do the same.
They do the same.
Yeah. Now, the Akan people are made up of 8 families, you said?
Yes.
In your book?
Yes. The Akan are basically, initially it was 7. The Akan they believe that there were 8 mythical women, or maybe we may call it spirits. Yeah. But they were all females.
Okay.
That form the Akan people.
Yeah.
And each one has its totem. I am of the Bretuo family. Okay. And our symbol, our totemic symbol, it's the leopard.
Oh, wow.
We have all 8 with their common greetings and taboos, what to do, not what to do. So that if I meet you and you greet me, my response would tell you exactly which of the 8 family I belong.
And the rest of them were Adwana?
Aduana,
Aduana,
yes.
Agona.
Agona, yes.
Asakiyari.
Asachiri.
Okay. Asene.
Asenia, yes.
Asona.
Asona, yes.
Britoy, which is where you come from.
Yes.
And Okona.
Yes.
Okona and Oyoko.
Okay. And I can tell you all their totemic symbols.
All right.
You know, they all have their totemic symbols. We are, like I said, leopards. But you know what I believe was, even though there's no proof, and I am not claiming I am a credential authority on Egyptologists, but I believe that it could have been a tiger. It could have been a lion.
Yeah.
But when they dwelt in the forest, they could not
tell.
They could not find. Lions are basically a grassland or savanna land animal.
Right.
They are the monarchs, so they are in the open.
Yes.
Tigers are basically in the forest.
Oh.
So it was with the rivers. Like I said, some of these people have specific rivers as the rivers that they used to cleanse their soul. And we knew that at one time, some of them, their clan, and there's difference between family and clan, I'll explain. Some of them had the river Niger as their spiritual river. But if you get into the hinterlands of present-day Ghana, there is no river Niger there.
Right.
So the equivalent of the Niger could be any biggest river that was close by.
Okay.
Under that premise that I am assuming that they could have been, because most of the biblical characters, they all had totems. And if you read, their totems are, we have enumerated them. Paul, they all have their totems, including Jesus. And Ephraim and all those things, you know, and most of them are spread.
So now what? So tell me a little bit about maybe one or two more. As the Asachiri. What was the totem?
Their totem is the vulture.
Vulture. Okay.
Yes, their totem is the vulture, and also they can use the eagle. But what they say is that it is the vulture that comes to listen to news and whatever is plannable, and then sends it into the forest.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But the vulture has keenness for blood.
Yes.
And it has patience. The vulture can wait till its opportune time to go for its food.
To strike.
Yes. So the Asachiri people are noted for that. Yeah. And by the way, Asachiri means after war. Which means maybe they might have come after, and they were, if not the first, they were among the first to come to the forest belt.
Wow.
So it's a very, very, very old family.
Okay.
When we say family here, the Akan family structure is not mother, father, and siblings.
Okay.
No. We define family through the motherhood.
Okay.
So it's
a matriarchal society.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The Akan is one of the few matriarchal societies in Ghana.
Yeah. And so how do you succeed in a matriarchal society? Who's succeeding the mother? The daughters or the sons?
Well, no, men do not succeed women.
Okay.
Men do not succeed women.
So where does that put the man?
No, let's say, let's assume I am a king, assume but not take into consideration. And if I die, my brother would have to succeed me. Or, if there is no qualified brother, and the word is qualified, there could be so many brothers who are not fit to mount the throne. In the absence of any of my brothers, my nephew, and we have a definition. A nephew, in a concept of family structure, a nephew is the son of your sister, period.
Okay.
So you see the bloodline follows.
Okay.
The son
of your sister.
Why? Because let's assume you are my sister and your son, okay? By virtue of us being
brother and sister,
we're from the same womb. Therefore, we have the same blood.
Yes.
And your son also came from your womb.
Yeah.
So she has your blood. And both of us also come from the same womb, the same blood. So your son is more related to me than my own son. My son cannot succeed me if I were to be a king.
Yeah.
In a matrilineal system, that is what it is. Not
wow.
Your son.
Interesting.
Yes, your son cannot succeed you. In fact, it is still there in the royalty.
Yeah.
No son in a Akan concept or matriarchal system, no son mounts the throne. However, some thrones can be created for sons.
Okay.
But that's the word. They are created.
That's not
the natural sequence of things. Yes.
And this also goes back to the Jewish customs, because the mother is a very special. It's a real strong conduit.
You have to understand that. Well, to claim like you are a real, as we know them now, Jewish, you have to trace from the matrilineal line.
Yes.
If, of course, and maybe we are jumping guns, but the similarities between the Akan and ancient Egypt, there are 5 pages.
Wow.
There is from death,
from birth
the Jewish people, they have something called sitting Shiva, which we explained. There are 7 days of mourning.
Right.
I can't have similar things. And you cannot take a shower if you are in the process of with warm water.
Oh.
And they are all explained. Plus one thing though, people should know. The original Jewish people up to 1 AD, 81, they were black people.
Oh, wow.
So it's not anything
new.
strange.
Yeah, it's nothing new. Yeah, interesting though. You've got to read this book. I'm telling you, it's so in depth. The research took you how many years? 22 years to do, and you can tell because it is so deep. Once you start reading this book, you're like in Africa itself. Among the Akans. Tell me a little bit about birth and the naming ceremony. Because that's a very important thing. I always ask my guests, and this is why I do what I do. What does your name mean in an African situation, in an African culture? And there's a whole ceremony that culminates in a name given to a child.
Yes,
at birth.
Yes. Which day were you born?
I was born on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Yes. So
in the Akan concept. A child gets the name of the day he or she was born.
Okay.
That's the first name.
First name, yeah.
My first name is Kofi.
Okay. You're born on a
Friday. That's
okay.
A boy born on a Friday.
And what about a girl born on
Female born on Friday will be Efia.
Efia, okay.
So you were born on Tuesday. If you are a Kan woman, you will be called Abena.
Abena, okay.
And the male equivalent is Kwabena.
Kwabena, okay.
We have that for all the 7 days.
Wow.
So that is what we call soul name.
Names.
You have no choice on the day you were born.
Okay.
You're born, you get that name. Yeah. Then, of course, your parents would give you
the
a name.
Choice
they
names,
just don't give you. I like Johnson, so you are Johnson.
Yeah.
I like maybe Jackie, so no. It is the father who gives the name.
Okay. Even there's a matriarchal society?
Of course, men have some
rights. Okay, all right.
Father gives the
I'm
name.
pleased to hear that.
but of course, in conjunction with the wife. And so we just don't give names. They will name you after something. It could be an event, something happening,
right,
or after an uncle. My last name, Ayim, has nothing to do with my family name. No one in my family, extended family, is called Ayim.
Yeah.
My father named me after a man he went to learn trade with. And the man took him as his son. So in our concept, that man who also helped me in my group, I used to spend vacation with him and his people. He became my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
We don't have godfathers.
Yeah.
God is God.
God is God.
That man is also my grandfather, even though not biological, but and those were some of the things. The good part is that I'm yet to see any Akan, once again I'm limited into Akan, who has named a child after a useless man in the family.
Yeah.
Because we believe that you take the character and there is a ceremony to go through, which is long, but in short, I'll just give you, when a child is born, on the 8th day,
right,
counting from the day the child was born, or maybe you will say 1 week, but on the 8th day, the child is given a name. We already know the soul name. So the man decides, I want to name you after my mother or father, and then early morning on the 8th day, the child comes. Why do they do that on the 8th day? The belief is that maybe maybe the child was sent from the spiritual world to come take a look at the physical world and go back.
Yeah.
So but if the child is able to live through the 7 days that God created, it means the child has come to stay. And therefore, it must be given a name. Not calling yo and all that.
Yeah.
So what they do in short story, which is deeply explained there, they get 2 liquor, clear liquor, in a glass.
Yeah.
One is water, one is liquor. Could be gin or not. Then they go through the processes.
Libations and stuff like that.
And then tap the clear liquor. They'll tell the child, hold the 2. The officiating minister will tell the child, these are 2 clear liquids. They are very, very similar, but you know what? They are completely different. One stands for good, the other stands for evil. And of course, the water is the good and talk, and then he said, if you taste this or you come near this, it's a sign of good life. So you must be able to distinguish between these, the goodness and the badness. Now, early Europeans, when they came to Africa, out of ignorance, they experienced this thing, and then they went to write that Africans or Akans introduced children to alcoholism in early birth. But it had meaning. It's deep. It's deeper than, if you read it, you see how the processes are.
Yeah, and I like the way you broke down. It says the Asante, and you compared it to the Abyssinian Empire and the Asante people.
Yes.
And some of the traditions or way of life. For instance, what happens to an adulterer? What happens to
yes, the punishment and all this. Once again, like
when you listen to a king talking, you lose your tongue.
Yes, when you go to snitch on a king talking and all this, because you speak with your tongue. Yes. So and you are caught because you could be a spy. Yeah. So the appropriate punishment is to cut your tongue off. Next time you are not going to listen to snitch on a king and his counselors, listening. Oh boy! And if for infidelity of women, you lose your nose.
Whoa!
And once
why nose?
Well, to spoil your face, to spite you, and then you'll be known in the community.
Something like
and it becomes a shame and not a stigma. Yeah. And all these things that they were doing were something that Black people were practicing throughout. And that makes me, I have no doubt that the Akan were part of the ancient Hebrews. There's no two ways about that. Yeah. If you read and you do your own research, the similarities are they cannot be coincidental.
Wow, yeah. On that note, we'll take a break and we'll come back to much more interesting customs and traditions of the Akan people. Thank you so much for watching us, and I hope you're enjoying it so far, because I sure am. What publication described Africa as the most hopeless continent in the year 2000, and then turned around 11 years later in 2011 to describe Africa as one of the most hopeful continents in the world? The answer when we return. Hi, I'm your host, Kristen Daka-McCary, and you're watching Unveiling Africa. You're watching Unveiling Africa on the newly created Soul City Network. You could check your local listings for times and air. What publication described Africa as the most hopeless continent in the year 2000, and then turned around 11 years later in 2011 to describe Africa as one of the most hopeful continents in the world? And the answer is The Economist. I'm sure a lot of you read that magazine. It covers a lot of African information and other information around the world. How interesting. We are back with Mr. Kofi Ayim, our avid writer and cultural expert on the Akan people. I say that because he has really spent almost a lifetime of some people, studying the people, the Akan people. We're going to talk about soul. Soul. I like to talk about a soul because I think soul is the eye of the person. We look at eyes, but I think the soul is the true spirit of us all. Tell me what the soul means to Akan people.
Well, the concept of an Akan child depends on a trinity. Blood, spirit, and soul.
Wow.
And there is big difference between spirit and soul. I can't believe that a child is born with the blood of the mother, the spirit of the father. That is the characteristics. And then the soul, which is given from God.
God. Wow.
Now, the soul cannot be destroyed.
No.
When, according to Akan metaphysical mind, when the person dies, the soul flies off.
Right, first thing.
They believe the soul flies off either from the middle of your head,
the soft spot.
Yes, the pulsating part of the child there, or at the edges of your mouth.
Why edges of your mouth?
Well, it's also a soft spot. That's what they believe. The soul flies to go and render accounts to its creator. It cannot be destroyed. Okay, if it's deemed that the person served, righteously, that life could be recycled. That's why I can't believe in reincarnation.
Oh wow!
But if it's believed that what the soul did, the person did,
was horrid.
That is the only time they define death, because you go into an abyss, dark. No chance
of coming back. Wow.
The spirit.
Well, people, you gotta be good.
The spirit is obtained from their father, and actually, the spirit, the semen of a man is the function of the spirit. In fact, in the olden days, and I remember very well, my grandfather, if you name a child after any of the relatives, the grandfather will hold the child during the naming ceremony. Maybe if in the U.S. they will probably charge your father
child abuse
and spit a saliva into the child's mouth to strengthen the spirit of that family.
Okay.
We call that spirit clannish. That's where the clan comes from.
Oh.
We say in tongue as against family. So there's the complete difference between family
and clan.
Wow. According to Akan concept.
Wow.
So, and I'll explain. So the mother gets the blood, the father's spirit, and the spirit
God
usually like the behavior of the child and all this and all that.
So if you have a naughty child, most probably it's from the father's spirit.
It's probably from, according to Akan
people, wow.
Because women was in a different pedestal.
Right.
You have to understand that it's matriarchal. And quickly I'll just say, women reign supreme.
Right.
In fact, at one time, long time ago, women were leaders.
I heard that.
Yes, women were leaders. I think it was
like
throughout
Queen Amina
Africa.
of Nigeria.
It was foreign influences from the Arabs, from the Christianity and all these things that eventually pushed that African woman to the
side.
Back and made
as a second
and made man
the head of the household.
The head of the household. In a Akan concept, you see that, and quickly, if even you go deeper in Asian biblical records. Mary had her son, and there was no father. So the Trinity initially was the mother baby, with her son and the spirit that made the thing.
Wow.
And of course, once again, they push the woman and replace the woman with the father. That is what I'm saying, that Africans were natural people in the schemes. They didn't change anything. And why did they make woman the head? They could not understand, and you have to understand that from mythology,
right?
Which were expression of abstract ideas. They found out that at one time, whatever it was, because they had limited verbal intelligence, they represented what they could see to represent what they could not see. So a woman will have a baby, okay? Some trees will bear fruits.
Right.
A river will swell. All those things that produce, they would classify it as feminine.
Wow.
Okay? And so on and so forth. All those that could not produce, including man, because the understanding was not there yet. Okay, so it was not. That was metaphysical mind of Africa. So it put the woman higher than
a pedestal
yes,
that we belong.
Yes. And in fact, if you look at Akan, the symbol of the kingship, which is a throne,
right,
is shaped like the crescent of the moon.
Yes.
And the woman represented the moon. The moon gave birth to the sun.
Oh, wow.
Which became the sun god. But later, the woman gave chance for the sun, which was the sun, for the sun, S-O-N, which was S-U-N, to act.
Wow.
And the son is the fatherhood, and the woman is the motherhood.
Wow.
That's why the woman is also represented in Akan mythology by silver.
Whoa.
And the son is fierce.
Interesting. I told you. He really did his research, and it makes a lot of sense why our culture is the way it is. I invite you to read more of the Akan people of Ghana, because you'll be amazed and mesmerized at the stories and the information that he has researched to bring to us. Before you leave, and I hate to say that because I would like you to come back and talk some more about this, let's touch on
marriage
and death.
Okay.
Because, these are all customs and all parts of part of our lives.
Yeah.
We're born, we're named, then we get married, and then eventually we'll die. So let's just touch briefly, quickly, because we don't have much time.
Yeah, okay. Well, marriage in the Akan structure is extremely similar to the Old Testament in the Bible, betrothal, and they are not there now. They are almost all extinct. But what we used to call family marriage, which you could marry.
Arranged
marriage is there, but you could also, I can marry my uncle's daughter.
Ooh, is that incestuous?
No, it's not, because with the Akan thing, our family, we trace our family line from the mother's side. My father is just an outsider.
Oh.
Because if my mother and father were relatives, that would have been incest.
Wow, yeah.
So with respect to, let's say, our daughter, if you were my wife, one of us should be an outsider with respect to her, and the man is an outsider. That's how the Akan people classify.
Wow,
so I could marry my father's daughter. Now, quickly, you have to understand the translators of the Bible were using their concept of the culture.
Right.
Because when, I think, was it Laban had two daughters, Rachel and Leah and all this, when they they said their uncle and all this, uncle and uncle. It was matrilineal system. But when you read it, you are thinking of the uncle as the brother of the father. No. You should be able to know the culture and the history at that time. Wow. It was a matrilineal system. So it was nothing like they were marrying the daughters. Who was that? Was it Aaron or something? No, who married
Rebecca?
Yeah,
no, I'm not sure of the Bible.
You know what I'm talking about. Yes.
I was gonna say, we Catholics don't read the Bible. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, but talk about death.
Death is
big.
Yes.
But I hear that it's all done. The whole concept is ordained by a woman, really.
Yes, actually, because the dead body is, when someone dies, it's the woman who will be mourning and wailing and all these things, and the body that is washed according to so many cultural tendencies, age-wise, status and all this, and it's done by women and older women. And there's one thing here, though. Africans had all the time believed in extended family system.
Right.
Like the Bible said, go and multiply. So if you come to this world, and at those days, not now, you were a woman or a man, you were not able to give birth, and you died. There's a special ritual they do whilst preparing the body, asking you not to come back again.
Whoa!
Because you could not multiply, you could not
add value to the world. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's explained.
That's painful too.
Yeah, well,
because sometimes it may not be your fault.
I cannot say that's what they do here, but it's part of the things that they used to do.
Wow.
But it's women. Death is so deep in our culture. Before even they put the body in the casket, there's so many deep rituals. You have to put some money in the casket.
Oh, don't say that too loud.
Well, now they dig, because they believe that you will need that money in your long journey.
Yeah.
And that should not surprise you. Ancient pharaohs were buried in a mausoleum, huge, some as big as this place, with almost everything, including a boat that they will use to cross the Nile. And the same thing that Africans do. They will put so many things. Money to buy water, to quench your thirst, this food and clothes to dress. Yeah. But people dig now. So.
Interesting. Well, I've really enjoyed talking with you, and always do, because you bring out the very best in our African culture. You've specifically concentrated on the Akan people, and I know you're going to be doing more for Africa.
22 years.
22 years, another 22 years. That will give you hope for longevity. But then, I just invite everyone to participate in this cultural research and resurrection of the Akan people. And I actually dare say that it could be a template for every different cultural.
Well, that is what the second person who wrote the book, Dr. Ene.
Okay, let me read
friend
that.
From
Kofi Ayim has not only produced an enduring historic masterpiece, he has provided a thrilling template for others to study, and I agree with him tremendously. The past and present practices of antediluvian African nations. Here is hoping that his second major publication after Jack Cujo is not his magnum opus.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Ene. Very well put. And you know what? You're always...
Thank you. It's on Amazon though.
Yes.
So those,
Wes, tell us where you can get this book.
You can get it on Amazon.com.
Okay.
If you can't find it from me. I mean, sometimes I go out to do presentations where I carry few and
Do you have a website or a...
Unfortunately, no, I don't have a website, but you can get it at Amazon. And then there is an email in there.
Address. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kofi Ayim. We thank you again. We wish you, we hope you enjoy the show. I try to bring the very best of Africa. Thank you for letting us come into your homes and bringing out the very best of Africa. God bless. Bye.